Hey guys, so in this video, I want to give some tips on pushing people, playing aggressive, and winning fights. In order to do that, we're gonna look at the king of W King, UnknownxArmy. If you don't know who UnknownxArmy is, all you have to know is that he's a controller player who won last week's solo cash cup by only placing top 10 in 2 games. Yes, you heard that correctly. The man had 60 eliminations and 0 wins, yet still placed first. If somehow that's not insane enough, he also qualified twice for the World Cup and has won a total of 6 or 7 cash cups, including coming top 5 in the most recent one while on keyboard and mouse. Evidently, the kid is an absolute animal. The combination of his build and box fighting skills allows him to kill anyone he wants to and win fights nobody else can. So I thought, who better to learn from on how to W key than the most skilled W keyer in the world? With all of that being said, let's get into the video. One of the first things people say about Unknown is that he's a brainless, L2 spamming controller player. They say because of his aggressive playstyle, he has no game sense whatsoever. I for one highly disagree. The reason Unknown is so good at racking up eliminations is because he's actually an extremely smart player. Let's take this fight for example. As Unknown gets a tag, he immediately starts pressuring his opponent. He starts spam shooting him, building up after him, trying to replace his wall, basically doing anything he can to stop the guy from healing. They end up box fighting for a little, but nothing really happens, so I will cut to the important part right here. Unknown's opponent tries to make an edit play on him, but Unknown sees it coming, jukes backwards to dodge it, and comes right back trying to break and replace the wall. Unfortunately, he doesn't get it, but it's more about the play Unknown tried to make. As the fight resumes, his opponent boxes up below him. Unknown eats a shotgun shot, but then is finally able to get a ramp over him and secure the kill. Now, the initial takeaway for playing aggressively and W keying is to never stop applying pressure and to do it intelligently. If you make the decision to W key, you have to keep putting pressure on your enemy. This is something Unknown is great at, as he never gives any of his opponents any time to breathe. No matter who he's fighting or who's around him, if he's set on fighting and killing you, then you're not gonna get away from him. Reason being is he knows that anytime they're given not defending themselves or scrambling trying to get away, they could be healing up, collecting themselves, or deciding what to do next. As a W keyer, you cannot allow that. However, you also cannot allow yourself to die. Unknown doesn't just go around jumping into people's boxes and replacing builds out in the open. He's always making sure he's protected and being smart with his push. That's why in our example, he took the time to build a wall to his left in the middle of the box fight. Had Unknown not done that and simply stood in front of his opponent's wall trying to replace it, he would have gotten dumped on by an edit play. He knew that though, so he put a wall up to his left for protection against any possible side edit. And in addition to that, he stood to the side of the wall he was pressuring, so the other guy had absolutely no angle on him. Now ask yourself, is that something a quote-unquote brainless player would do? I don't think so. The next tip I have, which Unknown actually showcased at the end of the engagement, is to always take control of the fight, both literally and figuratively. Did you notice how Unknown walled off the far side of the box before he made the stair edit? That alone ensured his opponent would be locked inside even if he managed to phase through the ramp edit. I know that's not a new trick, but establishing walls like that is something top tier box fighters like Unknown and Kanata frequently utilize. There could be a guy 2 feet in front of them and they would still have the foresight to block off any escape route possible before securing the kill. Mind you, that is only Unknown literally taking control of the fight. When I say figuratively taking control, I basically mean setting the tempo and playing at your own pace. Rarely ever will you find Unknown getting pushed himself. And the reason for that is again because he's in control of the 1v1. Before you ask how to do that, there's not one specific thing you can do to take hold of every engagement, because as we've all come to learn, every fight in Fortnite is different. Something that I did pick up from Unknown though is to always try to be the player making the first move. This will essentially turn you into the aggressor and help dictate where and how you want the fight to go. Take for example, this scuffle Unknown gets into. Even as Unknown is the one inside the box, he's also the first one to shoot and to do damage. Then after that, he doesn't just sit there and wait for his opponent to make the next play. Remember, Unknown is in control here. Therefore, he goes back out of sight and pops up out of nowhere with this sweet retake. His opponent jumps up above him, and in true Unknown fashion, he launches back without hesitation, cones the guy off, and then grabs the elimination. So while just 20 seconds ago, Unknown had been the one on low ground, trapped in the 1v1, he quickly took command by being the initiator and not sitting back passively, waiting for someone else to make a play. Moving on, the next major tip I want to talk about is more of a general one that I feel like everyone needs to know about if they expect to become a successful W keyer. That tip is to hone in on your mechanics, box fighting, and just overall 1v1 skills. If it hasn't been apparent already, Unknown is mechanically insane. His building, editing, aim, movement, and maybe even his fishing are all top notch. The thing is, a lot of players have great mechanics nowadays. What separates Unknown from the countless other W keyers is how he uses his mechanics and how he pairs them up with his absurd in-game IQ. Throughout all the videos I've watched of Unknown, it always seems like he was one step ahead of his opponents. He would consistently know what they were going to do next and flawlessly execute the right counter. A good example of this is the way Unknown plays out this storm fight. We see him lose high ground and immediately try to win it back. Then comes this ridiculous bit of movement. After he edits the wall, he dips down under the floor and goes right back up for a jump shot. Unfortunately, he misses and takes a shotgun shot to the face because he doesn't have scroll wheel reset. The fight continues though, and Unknown somehow manages to trap the guy in the box above him with a cone, but the guy breaks the wall and slips out. Finally comes the part I've been waiting for, where Unknown Doug Dimidomes his opponent, gets a shot off, then while jumping, moves backwards so he can't get shot. This results in his opponent falling to his death, and Unknown comes out on top. I'm not gonna lie boys, that was one of the most beautiful plays I've ever seen in game. He not only knew his opponent would try to ramp over him, which is why he placed down the cone, aka the Doug Dimmadome, but he also knew his opponent would go for a jump shot. So to be completely safe, he moved backwards as he jumped and built a wall. That play right there takes more than just a mastery of mechanics. That takes game sense, anticipation, confidence, and most importantly, aggression. Anyways, to finish off the video, I'll talk about what you guys can do to improve upon all the things I said. The most obvious answer is simply queuing up into a public match or arena game and pushing everyone you see. If you happen to die or misplay the fight, then think about what you did wrong. Did you not put enough pressure on them, or did you try and put too much where you forgot to protect yourself? The sole reason Unknown always seems to know what to do is because he's been in those exact situations hundreds if not thousands of times. Remember in my other video how I said game sense takes time and experience? Well, it still applies here to your game sense in fighting and W keying. The more fights you get into, the more you'll start to recognize your opponent's behaviors and the better you'll become at playing aggressive. The other thing I recommend you do is practice box fights and creative 1v1s. Outside of scrimming and playing in tournaments, that is basically all Unknown does, and for good reason. Box fighting helps him with his edits, peaks, and close range aim, and then creative 1v1s improves his building, awareness, and decision making in fights. Lastly, I want to point out that when he's doing these things, he's usually up against a really good player with money on the line. I'm not saying you have to go out and wager against clicks to get good practice, but I do think it helps Unknown become more confident and less nervous. Why would Unknown be scared to W key a random kid in game if he can consistently beat whoever he challenges to a wager? The answer is that he won't ever be. Overall guys, those are my tips on how to play more aggressive and W key like UnknownxArmy. If you learned something new or found the video useful, then do be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and to turn on post notifications. Thank you to everyone using the right code Jerian. If you guys didn't hear it last video, some weirdo made a code It's Jerian, but that is not my code. My code is Jerian, so use the right code. Otherwise, that's it from me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.